Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Small Business Small Talk. I am your host, Christy Smallwood, Chief Strategic Guide of Eagle Eye Strategies based here in Louisville, Kentucky. With that, I take a deep breath because anybody who knows Louisville, Kentucky area knows our number one medical issue around here is allergies. And boy, is it hitting. I don't know what in the world is happening. So if I have to take a couple of deep breaths, it's because I'm also out of inhaler right now. Not that y'all needed to know everything, but it is a thing here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we struggle with our allergies. Like for those of you who could see the video, like you could see the dark circles under my eyes. Everything's all puffy. My face gets all, it's just oh so much fun living in the Ohio Valley. Where all of everything settles in the air around here. And there's some days like it feels like you could just, when it's so humid and you walk out, you feel like you could just eat the air. It's that thick. It just is what it is. So I apologize if I sound a little extra breathy today, but welcome to Small Business Small Talk. So with that, sorry for that moment. Anyway, again, I am your host, Christy Smallwood, and I'm always excited to do these. I feel very blessed that I know how to do technology enough to be able to put a podcast like this together, or a video show, whatever we want to call this. It is a show at this point where it's a spotlight for small business owners. We get to talk about all things small business, and I get to hear their stories, how they've leveraged great things or even their adversity in life. And it just, for you, the listener, the watcher out there, it's also a great way to learn from each other without without the mastermind table. All right. So this is another aspect of how can I learn from somebody else, what they've gone through, what inspires them, what motivates them, what keeps them going in their business. And it also tells you, you are not alone out there by yourself in small business. It's rough being your own business owner when you don't have anywhere to take all of your things, right? When things are going rough, it's where do you take all that? Well, this may not be as completely interactive as I'd like it to be, where I have the audience to engage with as well. But you guys are my audience. So please contact me, reach out, go to the website, smallbusinesssmalltalk.com, connect with us there. We have a Facebook page, we have the YouTube channel, and we have all of the podcasting channels. So please, as you're listening to this, if something has inspired you or motivated you, created an aha moment, share that with us and leave us a great review. We're still on the front end of all of this at this stage, and I really would love to build that up for my guests. And so let's talk about my guest today on this episode. I did a pre-conversation with Aj Orr, and I immediately, I hope his wife is okay with me saying, boy, I just fell in love with this guy. He and I chatted it up like nobody's business. It was awesome. And as you're going to hear, we get pretty chatty. We both like to talk. So I'm going to tell you up front, you might want to get a pen and pencil, or not a pen and a pad of paper, or have something to where you can take some notes. However you do that, be swiping on the phone, however, because AJ gives a lot of great information very quickly. So he gets because he's so passionate about what he does, he gets really excited. So just be prepared for that. It's a great conversation. Or pause it, go back and listen to it a couple of times. It's going to be awesome. So Aj Orr, like I said, he is both a business owner. He's a veteran. He's also an author and a speaker. And that's one of the things that I was like, oh, he's a fellow business owner who wrote a book just like me. And I wanted to talk to him. So I got really excited about that too. His book is called The Art of War in Business Technology. And the subtitle is Simple Tactics for Conquering IT and Cybersecurity Challenges on the Small Business Battlefield. Boy, ain't that the truth, especially with all of the shitstorms that happen on a seemingly daily basis. It could be everything from shit not wanting to integrate right, be it a POS system, to QuickBooks, or the QuickBooks Online, just the QuickBooks. Okay, let's just leave that as it is. Things can seem so massive. And then you have the security issues, like how How do you fill out that whole thing once a year that takes 3 hours? It should be the IT person that helps you fill it out to accept credit cards online or in your store's POS. Do you have all that stuff secured and safe? And there's so many questions that are very complicated. Get the IT professional to help you. Well, AJ is not just the IT guy, he's also project management. And I've had a previous guest on before, Maria Porter with Mundo Technologies. I recommend you go back and listen to that one too. She's a hoot. With AJ, they what came not as a surprise, but it was like, it was interesting that they both had military backgrounds and they both love project management. It's like, this is really cool for me. So I personally loved the conversation. I love how he got so excited about this topic and the book and everything in it, and really taking everything that seems so complicated to us non-IT people and can make it super simple, and how to make the best decisions based on what our business needs, not only now, but in the future, because that's the stuff I get excited about. Like, how do we strategize everything that we possibly can to keep moving it forward as efficiently as possible in the direction of our dreams? Like, where do we really want to go with everything? And why do we want to get there? The plan supports all of that. And so the plan includes this whole operations and the processes and the resources that we need. And so we clearly just got excited about it. AJ's background, like I mentioned before, he is a veteran. So he served in the Army. Very thankful for anybody who has served in our military armed forces at any level. I don't care if they were filing papers or if they were on the front lines. Every person matters when it comes to serving the country in that capacity. So he's done really well. I just love it. So in the book, I will also, in the information about the show itself, you'll see a link to the website that I'll get his book. I think everybody's going to need it. Lots of great ways. And so he's also, let's not forget, the founder and CEO of Simple Plan IT. So not only did he write a book about it, he has a company that provides these IT, not just services, but like, let's say you already have an IT guy, but you need strategy wrapped around how to make the best decisions for your IT. So he can provide that as well. He's certified project manager and global digital risk and cybersecurity expert with more than 15 years of experience in this ever-evolving field. AJ's proudly served his country and is a veteran of the United States Army. He's the husband to his beautiful wife, Amy, and is the father of 4 amazing kids. We didn't talk about them much on the show. We did in the green room time. And so he got to tell me about his little 4-year-old girl who apparently is a lot like him and maybe slightly stubborn. So I love it. He is in Columbus, Ohio, but he's also from the Fort Knox area. So we had some fun with that in our green room time as well. So without further ado, let's get to my conversation and interview with Aj Orr.
Trust me, I will never lose it.
We were already losing it before, AJ.
You never have to worry about that.
There's so much. And I do call it my proverbial green room. There's so much we've already discussed that people are never going to get to take part of.
That's the fun stuff, though. That's the fun stuff.
It is the fun stuff. So thank you very much for being a part of the show with this episode of Small Business Small Talk. I have very much enjoyed having conversations with you. You and I just randomly met through a friend of mine, Kirk Hilbrick, who is also a business partner in Second Business. And when he connected us on LinkedIn, he did like 50 of them at once. I was like, dude, stop for a second. Let me catch up. Let me catch my breath. But then I discovered you're also a fellow author. And that was one that I was like, yes, he wrote a book. We already have, I don't even care what else you do. We have something in common that we can talk about. We're both business owners and we're authors. And here we go. And not only that, but I discovered your business is in IT.
Yes.
Yes. So all of this stuff, I
The-
recently saw a presentation about ransomware, and I'm like, all of the basic shit that I, as a business owner, I don't want to live in a day. I just want it to work. I don't want to have to deal with it. You are the guy. You're the guy. Like, you deal with that.
we try to. Yeah, we're halfway decent at solving problems and helping people to understand technology. And that's really kind of the crux of what it is that I try to do as an individual is, the name of the company is Simple Plan IT. And it really came about because I try to create simple plans for people to utilize technology and make it easy for them to understand and digest, because I think that my industry does a phenomenal job of making this stuff way more complicated and confusing than what it really needs to be.
Well, because there's so many, from my perspective of this, it's not just as simple as having my laptop and do the things here on one computer, especially if you're working with a team. And then you add in virtual, and then you add in, okay, I've got some on site, some off site. We're working from home now. Oh my God, how do I keep things secure? How do I don't even know. Do I need to have a separate box server somewhere? Or does that, I don't even know what I don't know that will help me. And then all of a sudden somebody's like, oh my gosh, you're going to get hacked. You have to have X, Y, and Z. And I don't even know what that means.
So here's the problem with, and the scenario that you just described is what everybody goes through. It's this, hey, we're changing, we're growing, this is different. Oh crap, what do I need to do? And there are thousands upon hundreds of thousands of vendors out there that will come in and say, hey, this is exactly what you need to do. And to me, that's 100% the wrong approach, because what you need to do, and this is me, I'm a project manager by trade. That's really where my strength is in project management, risk management. And so I'm really good at, whenever I was going and getting my certification, the instructor that was teaching the course for project management and the certification, she was like, hey, you're one of those guys that I could throw you into any situation and you'll figure out how to make it work. I was like, well, it's just because that's my inquisitive nature. I was like, and I always look at, let's start with the end in mind. So what is it that you're trying to accomplish? Let's get a clear picture of that. And then from there, I can help you build the steps to get you there. And so if we take that approach in everything, what is your biggest pain point now? What are you trying to accomplish with your business right now? Tell me about your business. How do you work? How do you operate? I don't care about the technology because I can wrap the technology around it, but I need to understand you as a business. What are you doing? How are you doing it? And then, okay, great. This is where you're at now. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Because the other part that people miss whenever they're starting to create a technology strategy, so to speak, is that they focus so much on solving today's issues that they forget that, hey, I want to be here in 5 years. And once you get there, does your technology solution still support that? Or are you now back in the same position again where you have to, all right, now I got to reinvest again, because that's no fun either. And so that's the approach that we try to take with our clients is, hey, show us what you're trying to do. Tell us what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go. What's your business operations look like? What's your industry? Is it changing? Let's stay in touch with all of those things, because technology should be a strategic tool that you use to make your business better and help you to accomplish your goals. It should not be a detriment or a liability to your business.
I am so glad you brought up strategy, because it's obviously one of my favorite things in the world. Just trying to get
did that on purpose.
Like shameless plug. So, as most of my listeners know, and my watchers, hey everybody on video out there, my business is all about strategy first. And these are some of those things, like operationally, where are you going to be if you accomplish those things that you want to accomplish? You're setting out for that vision. What does that look like? And we even look at the operations. And so technology is one of those resources of operations that we then have to implement into that whole concept. It's not just like, I don't work just in marketing. I'm like, we have to look at, if marketing is working to bring in new clients, how will the business grow?
Yep.
And sustain.
How does that impact operations? Because everything's going to change. I tell small business leaders. So Kirk and I got introduced because we do a lot of work together in a nonprofit called Bunker Labs that helps to support veteran entrepreneurs and veteran spouses who want to be entrepreneurs, basically giving them curriculum and access to resources and networks that they need to give them the best position, put them in the best position to where they can be successful. So that's what Bunker Labs does. And as I'm talking to these young entrepreneurs that are coming in, they've got an idea and this, that, and the other, I'm like, great. What are your processes? What's your foundation look like? Because if I was like, you're coming in and you're telling me, AJ, I just need money. I need funding. And I was like, and you might, that actually might be the case. I was like, here's what you got to understand. I was like, money is like gasoline. I was like, and so if you don't have everything in the right order and in the right place, it will burn your house down quicker than you built it. I was like, so you got to make sure that you have a solid foundation, that everything is rock solid, because once you dump money on it, money should just be a catalyst that helps you duplicate faster. But if you don't have the systems in place to duplicate faster, all you're going to do is you're going to burn yourself out. And you're going to burn your business out.
So do you talk about that stuff in your book?
Yes. Yes. So the name of the book is The Art of War in Business Technology,
which I love, by the way, because I've totally read The Art of War. And I was like, oh, this is a great in business technology. This is awesome. So
the idea of the book. So I wrote the book in less than 60 days in 2020. And so here's how 2020 shaped up. We all know the pandemic hit, March.
Sure. I kind of sort of remember 2020 at this point.
I mean, it was just kind of this thing that just kind of happened. You may remember, you may not.
But look, there are moments. Okay, the side note, there are still moments that I'm like, whenever we did that thing, and I'm like, oh wait, that was 2019. I completely skipped over 2020.
I call 2020 the lost year because nothing really happened.
It doesn't really count. Doesn't really count. So back to, you wrote it in 60 days.
Yeah. So 2020 happened, March, the world shuts down. And then later on that year in June, was it June? April, June, I got diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Oh. And everything's good now. Caught it early. We went in, took the whole thing out. Life is good. But whenever I got diagnosed, the doc said, "Hey, AJ, we know you don't want to hear this, but you've got cancer. But the good news is that you've got thyroid cancer, which is the easiest cancer for us to ever treat." And in my head, I was like, okay. I was like, all right, you got cancer. So you go through that whole processing phase. And then, then it hit me. I was like, all right, well, what if that's not my prognosis? What if I'm not one of the statistical, what if I'm a statistical anomaly to where this is the beginning of the end for me? I was like, what have I left behind? What's going to be my legacy and my impact? And those two words are what prompted me to write the book, because I wanted to leave behind a legacy and impact the world, or at least leave something that could impact the world, or at least that I felt could. And so I said, all right, well, what can I talk about? And so I looked at all the things that I do to help business owners to be successful, to better manage technology. So I started the company back in 2012. And whenever I started the company, it was to be a virtual CIO for small businesses. What I found was that as I was working with small businesses, they didn't have any kind of framework for vetting and validating the technology solutions or vendors that they were working with. So a lot of time they were either working with a vendor that wasn't qualified to do the things in which they said they could do, but they didn't know how to judge that, or they were buying a solution that either A, didn't meet all their needs, or B, they overbought a solution where they were only using 20% of it. And so it's like, all right, well, what could you have done with the money if you were right fitted in a solution? And so that's what I started to do. I started to sit across the table and sit with the business owner and say, hey, look, tell me what it is that you're trying to do. And so I gave them a framework for how to create a technology roadmap that, there's no technology surprises. I showed them how to create a technology budget, because most of these businesses don't have an IT budget and they didn't know how to create one. So it's like, all right, here's how you create a budget. And so in the book, I walk through all of these things to create this framework that I say, I call it future-proofing your business. Now, understand that we live in technology, and technology is never future-proof because it's constantly changing. But what I give them,
make it last like 3 to 5 years.
Things are changing faster than that nowadays, so that's a little bit sketchy.
Now I feel old. Thanks.
But what we can do is that we can give you a framework that if you execute and follow this process and this framework, that you'll never find yourself behind the 8 ball or behind the curve, and you'll always be in control of, okay, this is how this is how I'm going to spend on technology. This is what I'm going to invest in. This is how I vet technology solutions. And it creates this cyclical process that you just constantly go through. And it's a process that I really kind of took from the military. The military is constantly evolving, because after every mission, we do what's called an after action report, where you're analyzing, okay, what went right, what went wrong, how could we do it better? Everything was great. Cool. Well, we're still going to do an after action report because there's something we could do better. And so it's constant improvement. And so that's the way that I kind of wrote this book, is kind of to be like a tactical guide for how you can manage your technology so that you're always improving, you're always looking at, and you have a methodical way in which to do it. So you never get caught off guard. You don't have to worry about blowing your technology budget, because you've already you have a framework in place that's going to help guide you on that. So that was the purpose of the book, and to make an impact and build or leave a legacy for the futures. That's how it all came to be.
That's awesome. I'm going to include the link to be able to get your book in the description of the show. So for those of you who are looking for that, just go to that description there. And then remember, if you, for our listeners, if you're hearing something that's important to you, share it with your buddies, because this is really good stuff. And I appreciate AJ for everything that he's bringing to the conversation about the technology and planning for technology. And I know it can be hard. I mean, come on. We don't even know sometimes what we need. I kind of know the basics. I need computers and phones. That's what helps my business run. So then how do we look at, what would you tell somebody if you're like, you need to be more secure in this? Like, and coming from your project management perspective, like what would help set some priorities? Like what are some key things that I need to be doing?
That is such a great question. And so this question right here is the way the book is lined up to help with. And so in my world, the way that I look at business, there's 3 pillars of business. If you're going to grow and scale and do anything at scale, you need money. So regardless of what you're trying to do, I don't care if you're trying to create a nonprofit that's going to end world hunger, or if you're trying to create the next Amazon, you're going to need a lot of money to do whatever that initiative is. The second thing you need to do is be able to work efficiently. And that's where technology comes into. And the third thing that you need to do is to protect yourself. And so, if you really think about a commander in war, those are 3 things that they're trying to do. We're trying to advance our position. We're trying to maximize the utilization of our resources. And we're trying to make sure that we're protecting all of our fronts so that we don't get overrun by enemies. All of the principles that I put into the book, they directly align with military strategies and things like that, just because that's what I was comfortable with and that's what I knew. So to get to your question, so if somebody's just starting out, saying, hey, look, I don't even know what I don't know. Cool. You don't have to know it all. Let's start with the end in mind. Where is your business now? What are you trying to do? And then once you figure out what you're trying to do, then we look and see, okay, how do we find technology solutions that'll help us get there faster? Because that's all technology is. Technology is a tool to make you more efficient so that you can do more with less. Because if you can do more with less, now you're impacting your bottom line, because now you're reducing your expenses, which adds to your bottom line. Because let's face it, I don't care what industry you're in right now, the world and the talent landscape has changed. Competition now isn't just around the corner, across the street, or across town. It's across the state, it's across the country, it's globally. So now, you're fighting competition everywhere. And so not only are you fighting competition for customers, but you're also fighting competition for employees, because now it's an employees market, with especially with everything that's changed because of COVID and everything else like that. There are more people out there in the market space now that are looking for opportunities. So now, companies are paying more and incentivizing more, trying to get top quality talent. And so if you don't have the dollars to compete with that, the only way that you can is through strategic use of technology, having the right pieces in place. And so we look at those things and figure out, okay, if this is what you're trying to do, what technology solutions exist that'll help you to streamline these processes? And so the book kind of walks you through, how do you analyze your business? It doesn't matter what stage of business you're in. How do you analyze your business and find the bottlenecks, that I call them, that where if we implement technology, it'll streamline, the process, create less of a friction point for your internal staff as you're working through the process, but also more importantly, create less friction for your customer and for your client, because you want the process to be as smooth a transition as possible for them. And so that's what the book is designed to do, is to help you, give you that framework that says, here's where you are, no matter what stage you're in, and here's how you step your way through it to where you get to the point where you're more efficient, you can scale and grow your business.
So for those of you listening, if you can't tell, AJ is very intense about this.
I love this.
I know. Like the more, because you're like your dialogue pace, keep talking faster and faster and faster, and you're getting in there like with it. It's like, oh wow,
it's like I'm in the book again. It's like, oh yes, I can see it. It's like you asked me about a business, so I'm putting myself in this business to understand it, because I know that I realized over time that I've got a gift, and my gift is being able to see and take complex things and make them really simple and easy for people to digest. I thought that everybody could do that.
No.
But as I started my business, so when I started my business in 2012, like I said, it was to be a project management IT consulting firm. As I tried to scale that, I couldn't find people that could actually do the things in which I do. And that's when somebody pulled me aside. They said, AJ, you got a unique gift. You need to capitalize on that. I'm like, but if it's so easy for me, then why doesn't everybody see it? They're like, AJ, there are people that understand engines in cars. Do you understand them? I'm like, no. He's like, same thing. I was like, great point. Thank you. And so it helped me to appreciate my gift. But then because now I can appreciate my gifting, I also recognize talent in other areas and other giftings and can respect those equally.
I love it. And I'm going to give you the same compliment I usually get from other people. I can sit and listen to you all day. Like you just keep talking about this stuff. First of all, it's fascinating to me because I always love to learn something new, because I'm not, while I can work my technology, I love the fact that you've meshed strategy with technology. And I'm like, ooh, bring it on. This is going to be awesome. And I also want to we're going to take a slight turn here. I want to say thank you tremendously from the bottom of my heart for the service that you have given our country. It means a tremendous amount to me, especially with recent events. So with all that has been going on in the world, I come from a military family. I did not serve myself, but I'm very well aware of what it takes to be a part of that. And I just cannot thank you enough. So there's that. Now, you learned a lot during the military. How did that transition to business ownership?
That's funny too. So I mentioned this in the book. I did not set out to be a business owner. That was not my plan. That was not a goal or an ambition of mine, was to ever be a business owner. What happened was, and once again, I attribute this to the military. So I was working for an IT company doing their front-end project management, account development, executive accounts, all that other good stuff.
By the way, real quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but what branch did you serve in?
I was an Army guy. So I was a communications specialist in the Army. So it was somewhat tech on the back end. It was my experience. That's kind of how I kind of dovetailed into it in the private sector. But that was a long journey too, that I kind of touch on a little bit in the book. It took me a long time to acclimate to civilian lifestyle after getting out of the military. Just because, I tell people all the time, the military did a great job of transitioning me in, but not a great job of transitioning me out. Mm-hmm. And there are two things that I lost that, as I talked to other veterans, they had a similar experience. When you're part of the military family, for lack of a better term, there are two things that you have. One, you have a bigger sense of purpose because you're tied to something bigger than yourself. And the military teaches you, I don't care what branch you served in or whatnot, the mission is always bigger than you. It's never about you. It's always about the bigger mission, the bigger purpose, the bigger cause. And so being part of that, I'm part of something bigger than myself. Whenever I got out of the military, I was no longer part of the uniform. I was no longer part of this big idea. I was just AJ. And what is AJ in the civilian world?
Right.
It took a while for me to try to figure that out. The second piece that I lost that I think really goes understated is you lose your network. In the military, you're surrounded 24/7 by people that think and operate very similarly to the way in which you do. Now, I could hate you. We could not like each other, but whenever it was time to go to work, I knew that I could count on you to protect my life and you could count on me to protect yours, because the mission was bigger than whatever petty thing that we had going against us. At the end of the day, the mission was simple: complete the task, everybody get home safe. And so when you're surrounded by people with that mentality of the mission has to get completed, there is no option of failure. The mission has to get completed, and we're all going to get home safely. And then you get into the civilian world where everything is not my fault. You do it, all about me, me, me. And so I struggled with adapting to that. And so those two things really, really were kind of stumbling blocks when it came to my transition into the civilian lifestyle. I tell people, I was like, I went in, I never saw combat and I never got deployed overseas, but it still took me 3 years to acclimate to civilian lifestyle just because of the culture that I was so indoctrinated with.
Culture and structure, like you guys have.
100%.
And because I know that from my business partner, Kirk, because that's part of what helps him. His personality says he's a very creative, very outspoken, very just natural born sales guy, right? That's Kirk. You would think he thrives without culture or without structure, but he does not.
Oh no,
he needs that structure because that's a military thing.
But at the same time, that structure, and because we have that internal structure, it allows us to thrive in chaos because we don't get overwhelmed, because we break things apart. I was talking to somebody earlier today. He was like, man, AJ, he's like, you got so many things going on. He's like, how do you do it? He's like, when I die, I want to be reincarnated as you. He's like, because I don't know how you do it. I was like, well, I'm gonna pull back the curtains a little bit for you. I was like, look, yes, I have a lot of stuff going on. I was like, but I don't look at that. I was like, what I do is I break it down into what needs to get done today. I'll step back and I'll look at the big picture every now and then, but I don't focus and operate from the big picture lens. I focus and operate from the small structures of what do I need to get done today that's going to move the ball forward so that we can accomplish this big picture. But once again, task. And so I stay very task oriented. This has to be done. This has to be done. And that way I can knock it out and I cut off all of the drag and all the fat and all the distractions because I stay focused on the task. And so that allows me to accomplish things at a higher rate and higher speed because I don't get slowed down by the other stuff or sidetracked by the the size of the goal that I'm trying to accomplish.
Right. And I heard it said, I heard you complete the task, get home safe. Right.
100%.
And so that translated over to all of the things that you have on your plate now, that same ability translated over. But you're right. A lot of veterans coming out haven't transitioned enough to be able to find that within themselves and to adapt quickly.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's where the struggle part is, and a lot of it, so I got involved with Bunker Labs and really trying to give back to the veteran community, because, I heard the statistic that 22 of my brothers and sisters commit suicide every day. Mm-hmm. And I thought back on my journey, and if it wasn't for the fact that I had a strong family foundation and a strong faith in God, whatever your stance is, that's what helped me through it and kept me off of those ledges, because those were hard 3 years of trying to find myself and figure things out. And, once again, that loss of sense of purpose. But then fast forward and back to your original question, how did the military help me in getting into business? Like I said, I never planned on being a business owner. I was working for a company, and I always led with integrity. My thing was, I knew the company that I represented, I knew what they were capable of doing. And so I would come across opportunities where the solution that I represented wasn't the best fit for the client. And so because I believe so much in integrity and doing the right thing and putting good things out there and good things will come back to you, I would tell people, hey, look, we could do this, but these guys over here, they specialize in what it is that you need. Talk to so-and-so over there and he'll take good care of you. And if you want to pay me, just give me a referral next time you hear somebody ask about technology stuff. Well, what ended up happening was a couple of times people started to come back to me and said, hey, AJ, we trust your recommendation and we talked to your guy over there, but we didn't understand a damn thing he was saying. can you sit in on a meeting, since you understand what we're trying to do? Can you sit in on a meeting with us real quick and explain to him what it is that we need, and basically, make sure that we're getting what we need and we're not being oversold on something? I'm like, sure, no problem. 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour of my time, not a big deal. So I did that. And, one time I did this, and at the end of the meeting, a gentleman by the name of John, he gave me an envelope. He's like, your time is worth something, take it. So I get in the car, I open it up. It was a check for $500. I was like, holy shit, I just made $500 and I didn't do anything but translate.
Oh,
I was like,
damn.
I was like, holy cow. So the next time somebody asked me to do one of these things, I was like, sure, do you mind paying for my time? They said, sure, what do you charge? I was like, how about $100? Not even thinking that somebody had already given me 500. Why didn't I start there? But once again,
that's a whole other conversation about underpricing and undervaluing our worth.
Well, it's because I didn't have any intentions of being a business owner. It wasn't. That's not the way my brain was thinking.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
And so that's literally how the business started, was building that reputation of, and this is what I told people. I was like, I wanted the reputation of, go to AJ first, because if he can't help you, he will make sure that you get taken care of. And that if you have that reputation, then I will always be in a conversation, and I will never be without. I was like, and that's the type of reputation that I wanted to establish for myself, for my brand, for my company, and everything moving forward. And so that's, once again, going back to the Army values, the loyalty, duty, respect, honor, integrity, selfless service, and personal courage. Those are the Army core values. That's what we live on. And so I tell people all the time, the military, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be a business owner if it wasn't for my time in service. So as much as people, and I appreciate you thanking me, but I thank the country, I thank the government for providing me with a lane that has created me into who I am today, because I wouldn't be without it.
Well, without people at every single role in the military wouldn't function. And so it doesn't matter if you've gone overseas or not, or if you're here filing papers, every role is important.
100%.
And so I value all of it, because you're committing to, like you've already mentioned, you're committing to a culture and a lifestyle that is going to be with you for the entire rest of your life, no matter what experience you're having while you're in there. So you've committed to that chunk of time that will impact and leave a legacy for the rest of your life. And I love that you brought up core values and how you want to be presented as a brand and all of these things. My own experience has been, people will come to me because they know I will tell them the truth. And that is the highest compliment I think I ever get. I love my cheerleaders who think I'm a great speaker and all that kind of stuff. However, when somebody comes to me with their dream and they're laying it at my feet to say, what do you think? Because I know you'll tell me the truth. And I'm like, that's precious to me. And I hold that very dear. So were you intentional? So I say this like this pregnant pause on audio, but I'm thinking this through. Like, were you intentional about branding with those core values, or did you just kind of have, oh yeah, this is kind of working, I'll stick with this?
It wasn't so much that I realized that it was working. It was, I didn't know any other way. I had to lead with integrity. I had to be this, because anything outside of that just it didn't feel right with me. Because like I said, that's just who I've become to be with my military service, which was, putting others first, and knowing that, like I said, I think it's a combination of my military service and my faith background, putting others first, doing the right thing, and eventually things will come back to you in full circle. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And so I function and operated off of that. The owner of the company that I represented before leaving, once he found out what was going on, he was not very happy because that did take money out of his pocket. But, ultimately at the end of the day, I was like, don't be short-sighted and chase the quick dollar, because if we would have gotten to those situations, we would have ruined our reputation because we weren't equipped to handle them. And that once again goes back to one of the other things I talk to business leaders about is be self-aware. And it's okay not to have all the answers. It's okay not to have it all put together, because know who you are, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, play to your strengths, and find other people that can help support your weak areas. Because those are the traits of a true leader. A true leader, I tell people all the time, I'm not married to ideas. I'm married to results, because I've had a lot of ideas that I thought were stellar ideas. I was like, oh, this is going to be a home run. I'm going to knock this out of the park.
Game
and we
changer.
start game changer. Watch out. $1 million idea right here.
Sure.
And we go and execute. And the data says, AJ, that was a crappy idea. And so it's like, okay, well, rather than trying to prove the data wrong, I accept the data. I had a bad idea this time. Let's move on to something else. And because I'm results driven, I let the data tell me, AJ, this is a good idea. AJ, this is a bad idea. That way it helps me take the emotion out of it. Because once you put your emotion into it, well, I'm emotionally connected to this. I can't let this go because I've now tied my emotions, my identity to this. And it'll lead you in the complete wrong direction if you're not looking at the data and looking at all the facts that are telling you all the warning signs and bells are going off. Don't do it. Don't do it. And you're like, I'm committed. And next thing you know, you're like, how did I become broke? My business went under. It's like, oh, because the market told you it wasn't a good idea. So, and it's okay to have bad ideas. Just recognize them fast, switch to something else and keep going,
Fail forward faster. Isn't that the phrase?
That's what they say. And I embrace that wholeheartedly. Because I think that's how you accomplish more, man. You learn more from your failures than your successes.
Absolutely. Adversity helps refine and polish us into the gems that we are.
Here we go. I'm taking that. I'm a gem. She said it. I'm a gem.
Okay, so I always try to ask a couple of questions of each of my guests.
Sure.
And you are no exception, even though we could sit here and talk all day. However, so question for you.
Sure.
Who has been some of your best mentors?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say because we live in the social media age where we have access, where we have indirect access to people. I've had a lot of mentors that didn't know that they were mentors.
Same.
Where
Okay,
I've gleaned a lot of information. So for good and bad, Grant Cardone, I've taken some stuff from him. I've taken a lot of stuff from Gary Vee and what he does.
He's honestly one of my favorites. But I have to I binge on that and then I have to shut him down for a second.
I'm the same way. It's like I'll go through a 3-month period where I'm like all in, and it's like, all right, I got to take a break.
Okay. Because it's a lot going on. And I think, man, I'd like to get to this level of Gary Venus. And I went, I don't have enough people for that.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, in all the different projects it seems like he's constantly on, it's like, like right now, the zone that he's in with the NFTs, I have to unplug from that because that's a rabbit hole I don't have time to go down.
I've got it.
But he keeps presenting it and I'm like, I want to go. I'm like, no, AJ, no, you got too much on your plate. Stop. Unplug.
Okay, so Gary Vee, we got that in common. What else? Who else?
I would say those are really kind of the two big ones that I really kind of follow. Eric Thomas for some motivational stuff is who I'll listen to just kind of look for perspective. And then the rest of the time it's looking at the market and trying to figure out what the market is telling me, what they're struggling with, where I can help, where I can fit in, and just trying to maximize my utilization of my skills to help others in helping them to achieve the things in which they're trying to accomplish.
Do you ever find yourself YouTubing the classics, like those?
Always. Anytime that I need a refresher or a reminder. One of the things that I've started to do is I've started to record myself and play them back to myself. So I've got a playlist that I'll go to where, whenever we were starting off and really just hitting those rough spots, telling myself, hey, one day it won't be like this. And speaking to myself and recording it. That's the beauty of what we have with technology now, is that, we can essentially document our process. And at some point in time, I might make it all public, but until that day comes, it's a library that I go back to for motivation and inspiration. Because I think as business leaders, we oftentimes forget, especially once you start to get on a path of success and you're doing things and things are moving for you, you tend to forget all the challenges and struggles that you overcame. And so when things get hard again, it's good to be able to go back and have a video reminder of, oh yeah, I overcame that. Oh yeah, I went through this struggle and yep, we made it through this. So if I made it through that, I can make it through this. And just, a self pick me up type of deal.
Yeah, I love that idea. And I journal. So I'm a journaler. I'll write it down. So what has been a really impactful piece of advice you have received?
I'll never forget it. I make mention of it in the book. Whenever I was going through basic training, I was 6 weeks in, so it was close to graduation of basic training, which would then send you to your advanced individual training. And I had basically I had a bunch of stress fractures in my foot, and I had almost broken my ankle. So I got put on what they call profile, where you don't walk and they put you in a walking. But it was cool because I didn't have to do PT and I didn't have to go walking and do all the other stuff that everybody was doing.
Sure.
So I was like, yeah, I'm living the good life. Yeah. And then
Okay.
Then it came to the end where it's like, all right, well, now you've got this 5K road march that you have to do with a 60-pound ruck on your back. And if you don't march it, then either you get kicked out or you recycle back to day one of basic training. And I was like, well, shoot, none of this is an option. I was like, I can't go home. I'm not quitting. I was like, you're not putting me back in hell week at day one. I've already been through that. I'm on the good side now. So I'm not going back to that. And my drill sergeant pulled me aside. He said, look, Orr, he's like, I can't tell you what to do. He said, but look, fucked up shit happens to everybody.
Yeah, it does.
The difference is, and you have to, you have a choice. He said, but you were built to overcome this moment right here. The things that you're going through, you were built and made to overcome them. But I can't tell you that. You have to believe that for yourself. He said, but if you believe that, then you can overcome this moment right now. Whatever hardship you're going through, you can overcome it right now. But you have to believe that. And after that, I strapped up the boot and made the march. And I carry that with me all the time now. No matter what it is, no matter what the struggle is, I take a step back, I breathe and be like, remember, you were built to overcome this moment. This moment right here, you were built to overcome that. And then I slow down and I try to figure it out, and ultimately I find a way through it. So that's the one piece of advice, that one of many that I take with me all the time.
That is fantastic. All right, final question. You ready?
I'm ready.
What does success look like to you?
Oh, that's an easy one. Success for me, when I call it living the dream. And for me, living the dream is being able to do what you want, when you want, how you want, without limitations. And so I'm constantly pushing for that, to be in a position to where, we can do things and live life on our terms. And I think a lot of, while I had that thought process of success previously, I think listening to Gary Vee kind of helped form it and put it in perspective for me, which is every success to everybody is different. And that's okay. I think that was the biggest thing that I had to adapt with myself, was that my definition of success didn't have to match everybody else's.
Exactly.
I've got a good friend, and I talk about her all the time. Her name is Jess. Jess is a freelance writer. She's been a good friend of mine for years, but she works hard enough so that she can live the life that she wants, which is she wants to be out hiking during the summer, spring, and fall months, and she wants to be on the slope skiing in the winter. And she's like, I don't need a lot of material things. I want to be out there in nature. I want to do these things. And she's found a way to live that life, to where she's living the life that she wants. I was like, you're living the dream. I was like, you're an inspiration to me. I was like, I may make more money than you. I was like, but that's not your drive. That's not your passion. I was like, you're living your passion, which that is you're living your truth. I was like, and to me, if you're living your truth, then that's success. I don't care what anybody else calls it. You're living the dream. That's success to me. So I tell her all the time, you're an inspiration to me. And I keep fighting to find my truth so I can live in it as purely as she is.
I love that. And I already want to be like your friend Jess. That sounds fantastic. AJ, thank you so much for your time today on our show.
This has been fun, man. I could do this all day.
Well, I may
we
have
should
you
start
back.
a series.
I think I might. Oh, you mean with you?
No. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you're like, wait a second, maybe.
Wait a minute.
Awesome. Thank you.
This has been fun.
You guys, I told you it was fast, very intense conversation. Did you get your notes taken? I know I did. And we talked quite a bit about, so this organization he talked about, Bunker Labs. If you are a veteran listening to this right now, tap into that organization. You may have a local chapter, but if you don't, contact me. I will get you plugged in somewhere, some way, somehow. Or even contact AJ, because he is part of that local area in Columbus, Ohio for Bunker Labs. And I know that they cross meet, they do things throughout the nation where they come together as different chapters and all that kind of stuff. So if you are a veteran out there who is looking to, or has started, if you are like either just starting out as a new entrepreneur, or you've been in business for a while and you're like, oh, I didn't know my brothers and sisters are out there, they get me, tap into that organization. They've been doing great things for that small to medium business, the entrepreneur set of veterans, and handling that transition from a military life to civilian life can be extremely rough. And so there are other programs out there as well. I know some in my local area that help that transition so that it reduces that suicide rate, because it's rough. I mean, business owners, and this is one of the reasons I do this show, business ownership is rough as it is. Even for everything from a one-man shop, if you are a one-person entity, a sole proprietorship, you got enough going on in a day trying to bring business in, manage the business that you have, keeping those clients happy, and making sure it's all enough that you not only pay your bills, but have a lifestyle that you enjoy. We talked about his friend and that she created the lifestyle that she wanted, and her business is supporting that. That's what this show helps you learn more about, those kinds of things. If you are a business owner who has a team of 10 and you're like, I don't know what to do with these crazy people in a day, you need to tap into a local chamber, like my sponsor partner, the Chamber of St. Matthews. We will take you. We will welcome you in from wherever you are, because we do have virtual options. We have plenty of ways that you can be a part of your local chamber. And so a huge shout out to my local chamber. We are a little different around here too. The culture of our chamber is that we take what we do very seriously. We love to do business, but we don't take ourselves seriously at all. We love to have fun while we do business. And that's one of the things that sets us apart. But tap into that local chamber because you're looking to connect with other business owners. You do not have to walk this business ownership journey alone. And if you don't know where else to go, reach out to me, connect with me. I'll be happy to have that conversation, just to let you know you're not alone in this. There's always somebody new to learn something from. And I'm very excited and very blessed and very grateful that I get to be the one to talk to all of these people, to hear their stories and give them a platform in which to share their voice and their story, their dreams, their goals, their whatever they're going after. And so I've been really excited to talk to AJ. He's on fire. He's on it. I love working with people like that. And I love having people like that in my network. Absolutely. So, and I meant it when I said I'll probably have him back on again in the future. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for continuing to listen to this show. Thank you for sharing it with your friends. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for leaving us a great review. Thanks for all of it. thanks for helping me build this to really support small business throughout our nation and beyond. So with that, thank you so much for participating in this episode of Small Business Small Talk. I have been your host, Christy Smallwood, and I look forward to sharing the next episode with you of Small Business Small Talk. Check us out online at smallbusinesssmalltalk.com. Did I say it enough for you? smallbusinesssmalltalk.com. See you next time.